So you picked that one. So I'm gonna do my final one, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Indianapolis Colts.
That's a game I had too, man. That's a game I had. I was looking at too.
All right, there it is. So this is gonna be our final game we're gonna talk about. Well, you know what? We'll briefly touch one more since we both had the same. But yeah, start it off, Gabe. Start it off.
Well, yeah, this is another one. Obviously, Flacco coming out. I think one of the stats I showed, he was super efficient. I think he was like 9 of 10 for his first 10 throws, all like for positive yardage. So he didn't miss a throw until the 10th one. Super efficient. Bigsby. I just wrote Bigsby. I just wrote Bigsby. Him having a big run. I think he's like one of these guys that like once in a while you just see him run for like a lot of yards. You're like, damn, maybe I should pick that guy up on fantasy. T-Law to Thomas, man. You got Brian Thomas. I'm gonna let you talk about your Jaguars. Brian Thomas is incredible. He having another great week. I think there's something about him, that connection right there, like is excellent. When T-Law is on it, when he's on all cylinders, and with the talent, I think Thomas is a great wide receiver to have. So that was just a note I saw. I was like, I think there was a big pass to the right side that they had. I was like, damn, that looks really good. Like he was thrown to him in stride. There was one, I think Gabe Davis made a catch and had a big fumble. There was a big turnover at that point in the game. I think it was, I can't remember. It was before the half. It might have been before the half.
It was the second half. Yeah.
Okay, second half. Then you had a huge sack fumble. I think the D-line was putting a lot of pressure. I think they played pretty well. They were able to get some timely stops. A sack fumble right there. Lawrence Kirk, it was another huge throw. I thought it was like one of the highlights of the game. Had a big throw to Kirk, who was kind of like a quiet. I don't know. We'll get to your perspective on how Kirk is doing on the team, but since him leaving Arizona, I don't hear a lot from him. So seeing that big throw was just caught my eye. I had to write a note down. And I like this game because I thought Lawrence was able to throw to a variety of catchers, like tight end. Was it who's that big
Strange
guy? Yeah, is that the big guy, like 6'7"? No, I'm thinking of another guy.
No, you're thinking of the white guy, the Luke Farrell.
Oh no, there's a tall guy. This guy's like 6'7". He looks like a freaking defensive lineman, but he's a tight end. I remember thinking.
Oh, like the guy, he's injured. He's Evan Ingram. He's out right now.
He's out.
But yeah, he's our star tight end. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like I said, T-Law doing it. I thought he played excellent compared to like the last couple of weeks. Like I said, throwing to a variety of catchers. He played well. Bigsby was able to close it out with a breakout run. Close it out on the Colts, so not to end the game, but just kind of drain the clock. And Pierce was able to. I think for the Colts was a big impact player on the day. He had a pretty good game. He had big timely catches. When they needed it, when the Colts needed first downs and a touchdown, and they were able to make a little bit of a comeback, and then that field goal to take the lead. So overall, it was a fun, more than I expected. Like I said, Colts are one team that I don't watch a lot of, so I have been keeping an eye out now that Flacco's back in, and I thought Flacco played pretty well. I thought T-Law had a good game, and defense was there. I don't know if it's a perfect game. We'll talk to you about how you feel about the Jags overall, but this was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think for the neutral, it was a fun game to watch. For me, it was infuriating from a defensive perspective. But yeah, I could acknowledge that, like, oh yeah, this is probably entertaining for a lot of people. But yeah, pretty much from what I saw from the beginning of the game was they were just trying to get Trevor in a rhythm. It was short passes, get it going, get the run game moving, short little dink and ducks to Kirk, to Travis Etienne, to Bigsby, just build the confidence. Let's get the ball moving. Let's get it going. And then they slowly started progressing into the run game, like introducing Bigsby and then also power running Etienne. And I tell you what, those two are going to be one hell of a combo. If one's having a down game, the next one's going to turn up, because Bigsby, I wasn't a huge fan of him last year. He didn't really have a whole lot of great performances, but now he looks like he's starting to come into his own. This is his second year. And anything to take the load off of ETN, because we were running him a lot these past years. And I had a couple friends saying like, oh, is ETN washed? Is Bigsby taking his place? I'm like, whoa, calm down, man. Pump the brakes. First off, they're two different running backs. ETN's going to be more of an airbag.
Yeah.
He's going to be more of an airbag who can also run downhill if you need to. He's kind of like a hybrid more so. Not so much like Eckler, who Eckler's just a pure airbag. He's kind of more of a hybrid. But then you have Bigsby, who's just like, yeah, you're just pure downhill, just run it right up the gut and break tackles. And look, in modern day NFL, you need two. And if you're honestly, I've heard that like a lot of running backs say nowadays, I would like to have a second guy because back in the day, you were just the guy. Like you had no one else, and you were just getting pounded.
That's when we had fullbacks.
Shorter. Yeah, and your careers were shorter versus like I think a lot of guys will take being in the NFL for like let's say 8 years versus 4. And not everybody's Derrick Henry, man. Not everybody's like just a walking tank who just doesn't get hurt. So you need to switch it up. But yeah, and then once he started to get confidence, he started moving. I mean, like I think he was also like 9 and 10 at one point. He had a really high completion percentage. Then you start to see them slowly open up the playbook, slowly started slinging downfield, and that's where Brian Thomas Jr. was just getting open, creating chances. Gabe Davis kind of had a rough day. He had some moments where he catch, but he had a couple of drives. Obviously, the fumble. Yeah. Kurt had an okay day. You briefly mentioned Kirk. I think Kirk, he's doing good enough. Would I like to see a little bit more from him? Sure. But in my opinion, he's contributing. We have a lot of weapons on this team, and especially when Ingram comes back, that's another like high-quality pass catcher. I'm not going to expect Kirk to take over the game as much because at the end of the day, I don't think he was ever really intended to be a wide receiver one. He's a slot receiver. He's a guy in the slot you put in. He gets the middle of the field, gets the flat. And I think he's good enough. I think he's doing while he's getting paid a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's the veteran guy.
I will say for the most part, I don't say he lived. I would say he lived up to his contract. Like he's played pretty solid. He's been 1,000-yard receiver. He might be. I don't know if he's going to be one this year, but he's going to be pretty damn close to it, probably 800, 900 yards. But I tell you what, man, like you said, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a dude. He is going to be a dude. Even Jimmy Smith today, he was talking to Fred Taylor because Fred Taylor does the post game for all the Jaguar games. And Fred was telling the radio, he's like, I was talking to Jimmy because they did throwback. They did a throwback night because obviously – if you watch the Jazz game, he's like, that uniform looks interesting. That looks familiar. It's because they were doing the Ring of Honor just like the Atlanta Falcons did for Tom Coughlin, which I'm not necessarily a big fan of the idea of putting in a Ring of Honor for a guy who never won anything and only coached us for 7 years. That's a little weird, but people glorify the 90s, those 2 years so much. So kind of like how you Dolphins fans do for 72. It's like,
hey, man, undefeated.
You guys will never let that down.
Every year they crack the champagne.
50 years ago. But anyway, so yeah, they finally brought back the throwback jerseys. I've been waiting for this forever. So in honor, I'm actually wearing mine, Freddie T jersey. But but back to what I was saying. Jimmy Smith was saying, like, honestly, I think this kid's gonna be better than me. He's like, this guy, he's got insane speed, he's got good hands, and he's actually a better route runner than a lot of people anticipated because coming out of the draft, that was kind of the one thing people were unsure about because in LSU, he was just kind of the go guy. He didn't really have a lot of things that ask him to like do all kinds of complex route concepts. But anyways, also too, I want to talk about the Jags defense. They struggled a lot. Obviously, Joe Flacco had an amazing day. So, I want to give all the credit in the world to Joe Flacco. Dude's 39. He had like a 20-yard run. And the guy was also dealing. He was spreading the ball around, moving it. Michael Pittman, Alex Pierce, like they were moving it a lot. And it made it hard to stop at times. There's moments where they could. But the one thing I noticed with the Jags defense is the corner and the secondaries was just getting absolutely killed. And mind you, these aren't like world beater receivers either. It seems like they're starting to get progressively worse in the secondary. Obviously, there's injuries, and we're missing our best cornerback due to injury. But like you said, there was some pressure and a couple sacks and a couple sack fumbles, but it was a little inconsistent at times. It was either they got the sack or Joe Flacco had all the time in the world. There was no in between. It was no like absolutely dominating the game. It was just couple good moments, couple opportunistic moments, kind of like what we talked about with the Cincinnati Bengals Ravens game, where it was like 90% just kind of getting blown out. And then like there's a 10% of moments where there's like, wow, these are big plays. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it was. I will say this. I think the Jags had this game in the bag, and I was worried that they were going to do what they did the 3 out of the last 4 games, which is just absolutely give it up at the end. And they almost did. And Joe Flacco was just throwing bombs. But luckily, they ended up holding it off, getting the game-winning field goal. It was a little closer than it should have been, but